you check the children? Your little mess
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the horror show. I'm Cecil, Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
Jaime and Fuego here.
We are here recording a late episode, late for us. We're getting up there in years, so a 9:40 at night recording after a screening is pushing it, but luckily Marcia was willing to make the trip, and I think it's good because she doesn't always get to come to these early screenings with us. That's right. We are here to talk about a movie that is coming out this Friday, probably tomorrow as you guys are seeing this. Generally I try and put things up on the Thursday that the movies actually come out, and today we are talking about one that we've been excited about for a while. I know especially Marcia and I, because we're big paranormal movie fans, and so we are here to talk about The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. And yes, I will say we're going to do this review like we do all of our reviews. We'll start off with our overall thoughts, then we'll talk about the story, the acting, the effects, the cinematography, all that good stuff in turn. Break down the movies like we always do in a non-spoilery fashion. Frankly, I don't think there's really enough that's worth having a full spoiler section or anything like that.
No,
we'll let you guys go and experience it for yourselves, but
as you should.
I want to start off with Marcia's overall thoughts.
Yes.
So please, by all means, let us know.
I liked it. I did. It definitely was a third installment. It had the third installment of Sideitis or whatever.
Okay.
If that's a word, which it is not.
Not really. No. All right.
Just meaning like it was good, but it wasn't great. You know what I mean? Like it got me going, and I laughed and I giggled and I got shocked a little bit. But there were times where it's just kind of like, okay. All right, but I still really liked it. It's The Conjuring, and I'll keep watching everything they throw at me. So I don't think it's a waste of time. I think you're a fan of the franchise, you definitely need to go watch it because it was worth watching.
Fuego.
Jump into me. Cool. Yeah, man. This is a franchise that I enjoy. I can actually echo Marcia's sentiments a little bit here in the fact that I feel like this trilogy, this would be like the Alien 3, or as some people say, the Return of the Jedi of sorts, because of the fact that, you know, the first Alien film, groundbreaking, first Conjuring film, you know, awesome as far as R-rated, kind of gothic horror. The second one, though, I think is the Aliens of the franchise. It's the Terminator 2. It's the best of this trilogy. And this one was solid. Same visceral visuals and stuff. A little bit differently directed with Michael Chavez coming on instead of James Wan. He did the first two. But it did still have that tender core that you get from a lot of these films, although I didn't find it quite as resonant as the second film and the dynamic of that family. So, but I still liked it, and definitely worth seeing if you like the Conjuring-verse. So.
So my overall thoughts are pretty much along the same lines. It's worth seeing. I don't know that I would recommend you necessarily need to go to the theater to see it. I would say, yes, it's third in the Conjuring trilogy for sure. I think that it is still, as a paranormal movie, better than a lot of the stuff that gets thrown at us outside of the Conjuring universe.
Most stuff.
So even the weaker entry in the Conjuring movies is still better than a lot of the non-Conjuring movies that we get nowadays from studios.
Right.
So keeping all that in perspective, I do have to say, I was a little bored at times in this one. I wasn't nearly as invested because of the setup. The first two movies focused very much, and almost more so, on the families, with Ed and Lorraine being supporting characters, as opposed to this one where Ed and Lorraine were clearly the main characters and everything else was supporting. So I didn't get as attached to any other characters like I did in the first two movies. Totally. I cared about the family in the first one. I definitely cared about the family in the second one, and this one I just didn't have that emotional connection. Granted, they did try and approach the movie in a slightly different way, you know, tackling this court case, but not tackling this court case at the same time.
I thought we were going to get a lot more.
I thought we were going to get a lot more court stuff based on the trailer, but we didn't end up getting that much of it. So it didn't end up being what I thought and was hoping it was going to end up being, but I can't judge it based on what it wasn't, right? I have to judge it based on what it was. It was still good. It just starting to Ouroboros itself. It's a snake starting to eat its own tail a little bit, right? Like some of the stuff that they attempted to do in this was done better in the other Conjuring movies. Like the usual misdirect where you're looking at something this way and then when the character turns around, the thing's actually behind them.
Yeah.
We've seen that a number of times in this series.
It's one of their signature things.
It is, and it's just like it doesn't catch you anymore. I gotta say, I didn't jump once in this one. So Overall thoughts, obviously, I'm a little disappointed. It's still good, still better than a lot of the stuff that comes out, but ultimately I was a little bit disappointed in it. Now,
If I can ask you really quick, because how would you compare this in quality to Conjuring 2.5, which was the recent Annabelle movie? Did you like
I
that
personally
better?
liked the Annabelle. Yeah, I liked Annabelle 3 better than this.
Okay.
I did. I think Annabelle 3 was a better Conjuring 3 than the Conjuring the Devil Made Me Do It, personally.
I agree with that.
So, getting into the story, it's pretty simple. There's a man that is found wandering the streets after having committed a crime and is found bloody, and his explanation is that he was possessed. It wasn't actually him. And so Ed and Lorraine, who were already sort of in the situation without realizing they were in the situation, get brought back into the situation, and now they believe this kid, and so they want to try and avoid this kid getting the death penalty because they believe him, and of course no court system would. So it is based on the true story where there was a kid that tried to blame demonic possession for his crimes. So this tells that story, obviously loose dramatization of it, and throwing Ed and Lorraine Warren in pretty heavily. And so that's what happens. They have to try and figure out whether this kid is telling the truth or not, and what could be causing the possession if so. And this is where the movie takes a bit of a detour. It's less direct demonic involvement than there was in the first two. It's something else that is dark and demonic adjacent, right? Because technically that aspect of it, that group of people do worship the devil, right? So it is still devil worshippers.
So
and they never.
not gonna.
Well, we
There
can.
was a demon involved.
There is a, that's what I'm saying. It's demonic involvement, but it's really, it plays more of a witch angle, even though they never use the term witch, right? It's all demon worshiper, but it is essentially a witch because they're using advanced hex bags, right? From our supernatural time, right? 15 years in the supernatural trenches. We know what hex bags are. So as soon as I saw something, I was like, oh, that's a hex bag. And is what it ended up being. So they're toying with that aspect of the horror genre. And again, because it's Ed and Lorraine focused, I just feel like the story was a little bit weaker. Or, I guess it wasn't a weak story, but I guess, it felt weaker to me. Marcia?
Yeah, I feel like they kind of put themselves in a hard position, right? Because they're trying to tell the Warren story. They wanted to tell it on, like, the court perspective, but they didn't want another Emily Rose, right?
Right.
So what do? And they ended up just kind of hitting all kinds of different angles and then ending up with what we have.
Right.
Which didn't quite work. They had me the very beginning. I was hooked. The intro.
The
I thought it was
great.
very solid. Unfortunately, it wasn't the story that they were telling, in which this happened to us before. But then, it was part of the story, but it wasn't what they're going to focus on. And when they went away from that aspect of it, when they pulled us away from the actual story and of the possession and the things that were happening, it was boring and it wasn't fun to watch. You're just like, it's like watching like a cop drama almost, or like the boring parts of Supernatural almost. And I hate to say that because I am a fan of them, and I think it could be interesting, but they weren't focusing on what was actually happening. I think if they would have given us more of the case, unraveling the story throughout the actual courtroom drama, I think it would have been a lot more interesting. Yes, you're going to fall a little bit a victim of the Emily Rose story, but I still think it would have been a better way to angle it. They also throw in the centerpiece of the Warrens' love as the anchor to
There's
all of
actually
it.
dueling love that they tried to tie stuff with at the end, and that doesn't
Multiple
spoil
different types
anything.
of love stories, right?
Young and old.
Yeah, like and it could be familial or it could be actual love story.
Yeah, that too, without spoiling it.
So, and a lot of different ways, it was interesting, but really cheesy too. I don't know. It was middle road for me. I feel like they were trying to do too much and they didn't know how to overcome the barriers of the past and not be like somebody else while paving their own road, but they couldn't get out of their own way, I think. I think if they would have approached it way separate from where they were going, like what they've done in the past, I think it might have been better. I think they were just split too much in the story.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought the love story of the Warrens was sweet and all, but they didn't really go that in-depth into it or anything. They're just like, oh, here's some cute flashbacks and stuff. Yet more so, I felt like it worked because of the acting and the chemistry between those two leads, with Vera and Patrick and stuff. But I'm going to piggyback on some stuff you said, though, and the fact that the middle of this movie got tedious and was just one of the great things. And I don't always like haunted house possession-y type stuff, but those Conjuring, the first two films, they were relegated to one place, and this in the middle of the movie just goes to, it's like they go to one location and Ed's like, what do you see, what do you see, and then they go to another location, what do you see, what do you see. It just really got repetitive and redundant, and that's where the film really started to drag. I did think the third act revved it up, and some of the confrontation aspects, even though I kind of saw it coming a mile away without revealing, this twist of sorts, so to speak. But it just felt kind of by the numbers, not as inspired as the previous two. So
Yeah. Now let's talk about the actual filmmaking aspects. Okay. Oh no, before we do that, let's do the acting.
Yeah.
I thought the acting was all fine. I mean, it was all well done. No one took me out of the story. Patrick Wilson did a good job. Vera Farmiga, of course, did a good job. I think that kid that was the videographer was in the past movies as well.
I think so too.
Drew was his character's name. So I don't remember the actor.
Right?
Is that her son?
Well, the older kid
That ran the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He was calling him son at a couple points
okay.
later when they
Yeah,
were
maybe
doing
you're
the
right.
research and looking at the map.
Well,
and
but that
everything.
could have just been a term of endearment.
It's possible, I guess, But
Because he looked a little ethnic to be their kid.
That's what
I
I
didn't
thought
want to say
when
that
they-
out loud.
Yeah.
But
Maybe I was
their
hearing
daughter
things.
did show up, which I thought was
for
a
that
cute
little
nod.
cameo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the acting to me was on point, and I liked it all. I especially liked the quote unquote witch. I thought
Yeah.
she did a good job
Effective.
with the little bit of time that she actually had, so to speak.
Did she
Marcia,
glided?
acting for you,
She glided across the room.
as all good witches do.
I thought the acting was really good. I really dug the little boy David.
Beat me to it. That's what I was
Oh
going to
my
say. He was great.
Gosh,
I-
in the
now-
beginning, he was a true contortionist.
Now, was it the
Has
same?
to be. The
was
other
it
guy
the same
definitely was
kid
not.
from Haunting the Hill House in Color Out of Space?
No,
I don't
think
know.
so.
Oh, he looked so similar, but maybe it was
I don't
just the
think so.
cute glasses and everything.
He was
So
very
good.
Jonathan Lipnicki-ish.
That as well.
But he had to be. He was a true contortionist, or they did some crazy camera work.
Oh, that was definitely CG.
You think so?
Yeah, that was 100% CG.
Oh, maybe I was just really freaked out because I'm thinking of like, oh my god, if my son did that, I would lose my flipping mind. Oh
Yeah,
my
because then
god.
you have to decide. I should kill him. I should kill him if he's doing this.
What do
Like,
I
I
do?
should
I
just
just
kill
wanted
him.
to hug him.
Bring him out of his misery.
You just wanted to hug him?
Yes.
Which part of him? The part that would wrap around this way,
Yeah.
or the part that would wrap around
Yeah,
that way?
talking, he
Be like, it's
He
okay,
would pretzel
baby.
you,
Mommy
man.
loves you. Mommy loves you.
talking to like his pelvis.
I mean, that's I don't know. Like that's how effective it was. I just wanted to,
That's
like
fair,
pick
that's
him
fair.
up
I'm
and
just
hold
having
him. Like
fun.
there's the scene where his mom was just like holding him and like it's okay, I'm just like the poor boy, just save the boy. But anyways, I thought everybody did a really good job. I thought the boyfriend did a really good job, and the daughter was okay. But Ed and Lorraine are well acted always. I don't know. I don't like the way they presented the story this time around. It didn't feel as scary or as genuine. It felt like they were old, which is what they were trying to portray, was that they're old at the end of their years and they're in their journey, which makes me sad because we're just at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But I still liked it better than The Nun,
Yeah.
and I still liked it better than
La Llorona. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might be the weakest.
I liked it better than
Conjuring-verse.
one of the Annabelles.
First
But I
one.
like the second two Annabelles better than this one, I
Yeah.
think.
I
That'd be a
think the
fun
last-
ranking. Maybe we should do a
I think
Conjuring-verse ranking.
we have enough at
Did
this
we just
point.
do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Well,
I mean, kind
like
of, but
tier,
no,
tier
like
ranking
no,
or
no,
regular
like
ranking?
we could do both, honestly.
Yeah.
Do a separate, like an actual ranking and a tier list ranking.
But overall, acting, I thought everybody did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, it's always tough to go third in these situations when so much has been said already. I thought the kid was great. I still am endeared by our two leads, and I found that sweetness, as I mentioned earlier, between the two of them. I wish they could have flushed it out a little bit more so. I didn't buy as much into the younger love story of the accused guy. Well, he's not
They
accused.
did
He
feel pretty
kill
young to be
somebody.
as in love as they were.
Yeah, and I thought the
be
actress...
young and in
the-
love.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Midwest.
So
In the
foolish,
Midwest,
yeah.
there's so much.
Whereas-
Or back east, because it was Connecticut, right?
Oh, okay, you're right. Yeah.
But I
Felt
don't know.
interesting.
I mean, none of it was bad. I was trying to remember the older father, the retired priest who they're consulting. I recognized
John
that
Noble.
actor. Okay. Yeah.
John Noble. He
The
was.
Fringe.
He was in Fringe. He
Oh,
was
okay.
Walter in Walternate in Fringe. He was
I never
also
watched
one of
Fringe,
the. He
but-
was the king that went crazy in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, he was good.
He's solid, but he felt old too.
that
Like he was
most
starting to
definitely
feel
did.
super old.
And I'm like, that's a wig you're rocking there. I think,
feel
man.
so bad.
Yeah.
Because he was like, when he was moving, he was like hunched over like an old man. Like, hey, maybe that's just
He's
good
sup-
physical acting.
He's supposed to be long retired priest, so
Mm-hmm.
you know that's if these pushing 50 Warrens are consulting him as sage-like advice. I don't know. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, once again, no loose ends necessarily, but you know, it didn't wow me with emotion like the second film especially did.
Let's talk about the actual filmmaking. I thought the filmmaking was good, but here's the thing. When you compare it to the first two, which you do have to judge it on its own, but it's the third part of the Conjuring series, and it's got a lot to live up to, being, you know, the follow-up to the James Wan one.
Absolutely.
Ones, I should say. And so the filmmaking was good. It was solid, but it didn't build the tension the way James Wan knows how to build the tension. It really felt a little bit like an M. Night Shyamalan presentation.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like, there's some shots that are, you know, taking their time and stuff like that, and then even the frenetic parts don't feel that frenetic. So it felt a little bit weird, and while it was well shot, cinematography is used to build tension very well, usually in these Conjuring movies, and I don't feel like that was achieved as much in this. How did you guys feel about the cinematography?
I felt like it hit the peak in the opening, and then it went downhill from there. To be
Okay.
honest.
Yeah. No, I could see that.
Because like
Nothing really rose to that opening scene's level,
Nothing
did it?
did. When I watched the opening scene, I was like, yes,
Yeah.
finally,
And that's
it's
something-
back. And then the rest of it was like, eh. And even when there's some of the reveals and then the big finale, it just wasn't that good. You don't feel it as often. There was a couple spaces you're like, ooh, that's freaking me out, but you're just looking at dark corners and then like a quick like, oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, I did like the quick edity, contortion-y, crackling kind of stuff. I thought that
Yeah.
all looked good, and the way that they
I
decided to
didn't
shoot
like
it.
the prison one though. I thought the kid nailed it. I thought the other one, you looked like he was just doing this.
Yeah.
They
Well, and then there's
they
also the
definitely know how to
gargantuan
yeah,
one, and
they
then-
definitely know how to use fat corpses
Yeah.
to scare people.
That
Yeah.
one was okay.
Yeah, Fuego, your thoughts on
Sorry, I
the
interrupted
cinematography?
you.
Well, that's fine. I mean, lots of great drone shots, pretty scenery, stuff like that. Although, don't they film these in Australia? So I'm just like, wow, that's very, very surprising that they have those sort of locales there that can double for, you know, back east, Connecticut and Massachusetts and everything. So I mean, yes, it was pretty to look at, but I still will second your sentiments about the fact that it definitely didn't feel like a James Wan directed film. Although Chavez did a significantly better job than Curse of La Llorona, so I thought this was much better directed than that film personally. But I think maybe I was a little biased in that regard because of the fact that we're tackling characters and situations that I'm a little more into than what they went after with that. So.
Now, the sound design and the music. So, this was again set, this is a period piece, as all the Conjuring movies are. This is the most recent of them, taking place in 1981. As Marcia said, they're getting older, the Warrens. And so they have a couple of period appropriate songs, and the actual score is fine. Nothing really blows me out of the water because there weren't any of the scenes that, like, there wasn't the scene in The Nun 2 where the entity is moving along the wall as Vera Farmiga is following it, and then it starts to come out from behind the picture and stuff. Like, there was no set pieces like that, you know what I mean? I guess you could consider the forest investigation a set piece, but they showed most of that in the trailer. Almost literally all of it. Every beat that was interesting in that thing was in the trailer, and it's like, okay, so we're just not going to do really interesting set pieces, I guess. So as far as that goes, I was a little disappointed, but the sound design was fine for what we got, I suppose.
It was thumping and throbbing sort of synthy
True.
stuff a lot of the time, and I thought that
Again, at the
they were
beginning,
trying to
the
build some
bang, bang,
tension
bang
there,
on the
yeah.
door with the little kid, you know, investigating the
Telling
room.
you, the beginning, if we would have stopped in the first like 30 seconds of that movie, I would have been happy. And that's so
Conjuring
weird.
3 is only 5 minutes long.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
Marcia
everyone
likes
likes to
it.
watch.
I'm like, yeah, that's it. We could have ended it there. Like, it was, I was like, oh wow, we just watched the whole movie. That was it.
Yeah, and I did like some of the song choices, going with the Van Morrison and, you know, some Blondie in there and whatever. But was anything as memorable as him playing Elvis at the end of
No.
the second one? I mean, nothing.
Or
was very
singing to
good.
the family at all.
Yeah.
You know, in the middle of the movie to release tension. So, finally, let's talk about the effects. Before we do, though, Marcia, do you want to explain why you're wearing a cape?
Yeah.
Never
Oh.
did.
The reveal.
So go ahead,
All right.
do a little turn for the audience. So yes,
Yeah, swaggy.
we went to the premiere, and they had about 8 of these hoodie towels, Red Riding Hood things,
Yeah,
and yet
we don't
Handmaiden's
really
Tale
know.
literally no tie into the actual movie. I guess maybe what the witch could have been wearing, but never wore anything like this. Nonetheless,
It's pretty neat. It's pretty.
seems pretty cool.
It is cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty
The
neat.
devil made me do it. I can cover myself. I can
Yeah.
be hands free. I can be in the rain. I can
It's like the cousin of a
be in
Snuggie
the
or something.
snow.
But yeah, let's talk about the effects. This is a PG movie, or PG-13. I
No,
should say.
no, it's R.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah, it's R.
Why is it R?
I don't know.
Maybe
they've
the end.
all been R-rated, so yeah.
The ends?
I thought the end
think
was
the-
pretty like.
The kid contortions, maybe. Look, there. If this is R, this has no reason being R, especially in this day and age.
R-rated.
Oh man,
Yeah.
this did not deserve an R rating.
They did not push it to any sort
No.
of like nasty,
They didn't push it-
frightening degree.
They
There's
didn't
no
push it
blood,
with-
really? Oh,
no.
I guess there's a little bit
Little
of
bit.
blood.
I mean, there's
Just
throat
the blood they
slash.
show in the yeah, but
And it's
they don't even go heavy on that.
Suicide.
they
Maybe?
didn't. It was in
Maybe.
like that dimly lit sort of situation.
I guess.
Like
I don't know.
They talk about suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Who
Yeah,
knows?
it's for
but
frightening moments.
I think
and
people are
terror.
just kind of really scared about
Terror
kids
throughout.
watching anything these days.
nonetheless, the effects were fine, but I didn't feel like there was a ton of them. I mean, it was really a lot of editing effects more than anything because it was a lot of vision stuff that we were getting throughout the whole thing.
And I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
You know,
I
where
mean, there
she's,
was a
like,
bit of
looking
makeup
down
effects,
and
right?
stuff.
I guess.
Yeah, the
when
makeup effects
when
were
the
cool.
person is possessed, their eyes shift and you can see some veinage and stuff. But again, nothing like we haven't seen before in different things.
And then the
Pale, milky
bloated
wax.
bodies and stuff was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, the bit at the morgue and that. And
There was
the
no
recurrence
nudity
of that
either,
character.
even with the dead bodies. So I don't know. I don't know how they got the R, but the effects were fine. Nothing was so digital that it took you out of it or anything like that.
No, I mean, you have probably a better eye than I did, but that kid contortionist thing, like, that got me. I was like, dang.
It is
Yeah.
the coolest scene
But
in the
the
movie.
other one,
as
I
you
was just
said.
like, eh.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good. It was too obvious that it was just him, like, making movement and they sped it up
Yeah.
and added cracking noises.
Sped
Yeah.
up, slowed
And I'm like,
down.
Yeah, a lot of speed
You're
ramping.
not fooling me, buddy. Give me some better knots or something. Break some actual bones.
To
or
me,
something.
I think at this point, speed ramping has been overused so much where I think it's only effective. There was one moment where the speed ramping was effective, and it's because it was a character did this. Like, it was just that much movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed ramping that is fine, but when you're doing, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, it's just the nurse from Silent Hill effect over again, but not done as well or as creepy.
Or, It Chapter 1.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, I did like the set design of the layer of the villain,
That
and
was-
these like.
I liked it
underground
better in
areas.
the
I mean,
vision than in
Tunnels.
reality.
Just tunnels.
tunnels. Yeah, I mean, it didn't look
The
bad.
vision
I
it
mean,
No, it didn't look
better.
bad, but it just
No.
didn't stand out to me.
At least it was
you know?
a set.
Yeah, I guess.
you're like, it was
I
a
mean,
set.
and it's so funny
At
because,
least it was
like,
a set. Well, okay.
because, like, in the first one, the set was the house. It was just a house.
But it was a really well designed house
Yeah.
for everything
Yes.
they pulled off.
But that's what's so
With crawl
sad
spaces
is
and
that
everything.
they had a lot more options this time, and they
And
kind
they
of
didn't.
blew
Yeah,
it.
they did. I agree.
Yeah.
I
Or
agree.
they stretched themselves too thin by
Maybe.
trying to do too
Too
many
much.
locations as opposed to getting creative in the one. So
Maybe.
in any
Yeah.
event, good, not great. That's for sure.
Good
So
movie.
yeah, I think
saw-
that's gonna ultimately be it, guys. That's gonna be our opinions on The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It. Let us know if you've seen it. What are your thoughts in the comments down below? Try and keep it non-spoilery since we kept this review non-spoilery. I hope you guys enjoy the movie. Look, just because we weren't the biggest fans doesn't mean that we want everyone else to not like the movie. If you like the movie, great, fantastic. I am happy that you enjoyed it. We're just explaining why we didn't enjoy it as much. Again, we stated at the beginning, it's still a good movie.
We still liked it. It's
Still
just
worth
not,
watching,
It's just
but-
not top tier.
Yeah, it's just not top tier like the first two absolutely were.
Yeah, if
So.
you have HBO Max, I mean, you can
That's the way to watch it.
very easily watch it on Friday at home.
There's
So
nothing cinematic about it that you have to watch it in the theater.
Right, even the sound design doesn't necessarily
There's
justify
nothing
the
big picture like
theatrical
there was
viewing.
no like crooked man
No.
aspect or
No.
anything like that really got you to like jump out of your seat and be like, whoa, you gotta watch that in the theater because that was amazing.
And
Like,
that's one thing I
I didn't
was
get that feeling.
And that's one thing I was surprised they didn't do in this compared to the previous was they didn't try to franchise the hell out of it with, you could have an offshoot with this person and this. Like, the villainy wasn't as iconic. And I think for that reason, was the audience around us super vocal or big time reactions
No.
or anything? No, I think the audience was laughing more than anything else.
Well, there was
Yeah,
a
that's
few,
a
there was a
lot
couple
of-
people
what was
behind
the-
us
what
going
the
like,
humor in it?
"Oh, I think it's this. I think it's this." It was working on some people, but
Yeah.
just
We're
not
desensitized.
It was more of like a whodunit than a demonic.
kind of, but
I don't know.
even that, not so
Watch
much.
the
So
first 5 minutes and then soak it in.
I think it's available online,
again,
too.
if you're watching on an HBO
then
Max,
start
if you
over in
already
the
have HBO Max, give it a try. But I don't think you need to spend the money to go to the theater to see this one. So.
Not
Sad,
necessarily.
sad.
Yeah.
So yeah, why don't you guys let us know what your thoughts are on the in the comments down below. Again, if you've seen it, great, keep it non-spoilery. If you haven't seen it, let us know if this review made you want to watch it or not want to watch it. I'd be curious to know your thoughts. So
Yeah.
thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel directly like you do. The link to that is in the description box if you want to become a patron and tell us movies to review or do commentaries for, anything like that. We greatly appreciate you guys. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe. But until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Marcia Parker.
Gracias, Jaime, and Fuego.
And remember,
Stay
stay scared.
Scared.